set up a trap for him. This whole concert, it's a trap.
M. Night Shyamalan is a big name, especially when it comes to directing movies with supernatural plots, thrillers, and twisted endings. He has delivered classics like The Sixth Sense, Unbreakable, The Village, and The Last Airbender, and his recently released intense thriller, Trap, was a much-awaited movie. The film features a serial killer, played by Josh Hartnett, and promises a slow, burning premise that brews into an eventful narrative. In this video, we will break down the movie in great detail and also simplify the surprising twist in the story. There will be some major spoilers along the way, so you have been warned. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. How an adorable father-daughter trip takes a serious turn. The movie starts off on a rather innocuous note as Cooper Adams takes his teenage daughter Riley to a concert. A renowned pop star named Lady Raven is performing, and Cooper had promised to take his daughter to this concert if she secured good grades. However, from the moment the father-daughter duo step foot into the arena, Cooper realizes that something is off about the event. The police presence in the vicinity is surprisingly high, and it seems like they're anticipating something sinister. Cooper's concerns are soon addressed by a vendor named Jamie, when the latter reveals that the FBI has planned to lay an elaborate trap for an infamous serial killer known as the Butcher. They have been tipped off that the killer is present at the concert venue, and that's actually the first twist of the movie. We get to know that Cooper Adams is actually the killer, and he's shown checking his phone secretly. He is keeping a tab on the footage of his latest victim, who is currently held captive in his basement. Now, Cooper must find a way to escape being nabbed by the law enforcement agencies, and it suddenly becomes a deadly cat and mouse game, where the odds are extremely high.
The Butcher, the freaking nut job that goes around chopping people up. The feds heard that he's gonna be here today.
Can the Butcher escape from the concert? Now that the narrative is set in motion, the movie wastes no time in diving into a chaotic frenzy as Cooper tries just about anything in his capacity to escape the well-planned entrapment. He first steals the ID card of the vendor, Jamie, and he even learns about the passphrase that will help him identify himself as an employee. He then uses this card to gain access to the back room and steal a radio set. This helps him keep a tab of the police chatter, and he is unnerved when he hears a woman predicting his movements quite accurately to the cops. In order to create a distraction, the quick-thinking killer triggers an explosion in the kitchen of a food stand and uses this opportunity to sneak away into the roof. Here, Cooper finds out about the identity of this mystery woman and learns from a police officer that she is an FBI profiler named Dr. Josephine Grant. Meanwhile, Cooper's daughter, Riley, is puzzled by his strange behavior. She tells him to stay with her and also informs him about the concept of a dreamer girl at Lady Raven's concert. This is someone who has the chance to dance on stage alongside the singer, and the dreamer girl also gets backstage access. Cooper immediately identifies this as an opportunity to flee from the cops. He is led into thinking that the backstage will have an exit that will not be covered by the cops. So, he ensures that Riley becomes the dreamer girl by cooking up a story about her having recovered from leukemia recently. By now, it's quite clear that we have a super intelligent serial killer on our hands, and not just the dumb, maniacal kind who cannot think straight. Cooper plans each of his moves carefully, calculating the outcomes, and he shows enough promise to come out of this undetected. We see the next stage of his plan unfold after he discovers that even the backstage exit is guarded by the cops. Now, he takes the drastic step of revealing his identity to Lady Raven. It's actually interesting to note that Lady Raven is played by none other than M. Night Shyamalan's daughter, Salika Shyamalan. Cooper threatens Lady Raven by suggesting that he will kill his captured victim if she doesn't comply, and orders her to escort him and his daughter out of the concert in her limousine. It could have been a simple escape strategy that works wonders, but, Lady Raven turned out to be a smart cookie and found a way to accompany them to Cooper's residence. Cooper Cooper's cover is blown as the killer is cornered. So usually, when we come across serial killer thrillers, there's usually one individual who plays a key role in tracking down the killer. But for Trap, the role has been divided among a few characters. Lady Raven turns out to be more than just a hyped up pop star, as she finds her way to Cooper's house and stalls the killer by sitting before his family, telling them the entire story behind the FBI operation. Cooper is quite rattled when he hears about Grant's profiling of his character. She seems to have correctly pointed out his maternal issues, and Lady Raven also reveals that the cops got wind of the butcher's presence at the concert from a torn ticket receipt in an abandoned building. In a smart move, Lady Raven then manages to lock herself in the bathroom with Cooper's phone. She finds out the details about his captive victim, and by live streaming the same to her fans, she ensures that the victim is freed in quick time by those living nearby. And next, she confronts Cooper's wife, Rachel, and tells her all about his secret, sinister life. Now that his anonymous game is over, Cooper makes a desperate attempt to get away with Lady Raven as his new captive, but his family blocks the exit and allows her the time to slip away. Even the cops arrive on the scene, but the butcher has escaped through a secret tunnel by posing as a SWAT officer and taking away Raven's limousine. However, once again, Lady Raven gets away, courtesy of her fans and the cops who close in just in time. Cooper still proves to be a slippery catch as he blends with the crowd and escapes. But, by now, his cover is completely blown and alerts have been sounded all over the place.
What's happening?
I think you're looking for me. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Sorry.
Cooper's final showdown. We haven't known too many serial killers who aren't vengeful, and Cooper is not an exception. He heads back home and confronts his wife, who is forced to confess all about her suspicions. She smelled the chemicals used to preserve dead bodies on him, and she claims to have pointed the evidence for the cops to get to him. Cooper is disgusted and furious about the betrayal, and he is all set to kill his wife before committing suicide. In a brilliant move, Rachel keeps her cool and manipulates him into eating a pie that is laced with pills that Cooper uses on his victims. He briefly believes that he's hallucinating, before it turns out to be Dr. Grant, who made good use of his psychological issues to trap him. She posed as his mother, and this allowed the SWAT team to move in and finally arrest the untraceable killer. As he is led away in handcuffs, he takes a quick moment to adjust Riley's bike and sneakily steals a spoke from the wheel. It's an instrumental tool in unlocking his cuffs.
You're acting weird.
Does the open-ended climax set up a sequel? We don't always love it when movies end on a cliffhanger, but Trap handles it beautifully and satisfies the viewers. The climactic moments of the movie show Cooper in the back of the FBI transport van, and his hands are free from the cuffs that were put on him earlier. Throughout the movie, we have observed time and time again that Cooper has no trouble finding his way out of impossible situations. I mean, he is a quick thinker, and it also helps his cause that he's incredibly lucky. Thus, the overall implications are evidently pointing out to the possibility that he will escape from the van, and the law enforcement agencies have work to do as he runs loose once again. If the movie does good business, we can even expect a sequel, and the story has been set up perfectly. Cooper can now be seen operating from a different location, and Dr. Grant will continue to be on his trail. Meanwhile, from his furious exchange with Rachel towards the end of the movie, we can also predict a showdown between the two if there's a sequel. The basic premise stands on Cooper following his murderous obsession and targeting new victims, while Dr. Grant will try to bring him in for good this time around.
Dad. 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 Dad.
What are the roots of Cooper's childhood trauma? Psycho Cooper origins explored. Behind every serial killer, there is a detailed history that helps us understand their psychology. Usually, their violent and murderous tendencies are a representation of some form of trauma that they have experienced. And for Cooper, the cause seems deep-rooted to his childhood. It has been suggested in the narrative that Cooper had a rough childhood, and his mother often punished him severely as a young boy. He grew up without any love, and compassion, and his mommy issues continue to torment him even in the present day. We believe that he probably killed his own mother after a point, and this is the beginning of his journey as a notorious killer. This could probably be the reason behind the peace that he felt while killing and torturing his victims. And this would also explain his repeated hallucinations of his mother in the movie. He never recovered from the unaddressed childhood trauma, and this has even been utilized against him after Dr. Grant learned about his insecurities and revealed the same to Lady Raven. Overall, Cooper's character is a reflection on the common saying that appearances can be deceptive and differ from reality. The psycho killer in the movie is also a doting father when he needs to be, and his pretension of being a devoted husband also works briefly. The image of Cooper that he desperately tries to portray to the outside world is very different from his actual personality. In reality, his scarring childhood experiences have shaped him into a merciless killer who targets people who think they are whole. According to him, nobody is truly perfect, and he proves his point by leaving them in pieces. This is a killer that projects his own emptiness and brokenness through his victims, and it is an intriguing study into the twisted complexities of the human mind. You might even end up sympathizing with the actual villain in the movie because, of the circumstances. But that doesn't take away from the fact that he is a ruthless monster who has lost every bit of his conscience and compassion.
Where should I put her?
Thank you.
This individual that we're searching for.
How does technology play a key role in the narrative? M. Night Shyamalan's movies are known for their tendency of delving into deep metaphors and themes, but Trap plays out on a simpler note. The story can be perceived on the face value, although there are some implications on the importance of technology. On the one hand, Cooper uses his phone to monitor his victim Spencer, and even the carbon monoxide poisoning that he planned depended on technology. On the other hand, Lady Raven uses technology to help the victim escape, and in a major way, the entire planning process to nab the infamous serial killer relies heavily on technology. Lady Raven, who is a clear nod to Taylor Swift, goes live on social media to make use of her massive fan base and gets the details on Cooper to lay an effective trap.
What's happening?
Does the movie have a post-credit scene? There is another major reason why we feel that Shyamalan has plans for a sequel, and it is the post-credit scene that brings back one of the characters from earlier in the movie. The vendor seems traumatized after realizing while watching the news that Cooper is actually the killer, and he helped him escape unknowingly. "I ain't talking to no one at work no more," he says, clearly disturbed by the unintentional impact he has had. It will be completely pointless to bring him back in this little clip, unless the director has plans to introduce him once again in the sequel. Previously, Shyamalan has worked in cinematic universes like the Unbreakable trilogy, and he might have something similar planned for Trap as well.
Cooper. Jamie. What's with all the police trucks outside? The cameras everywhere, Jamie. I'm not supposed to tell.
Marvelous verdict, an experiment that blows hot and cold. We couldn't find better words to explain the movie because M. Night Shyamalan's tense thriller is a mix of both forgettable and memorable scenes. Sometimes even the bad guy can win in the end, and the movie breaks free of the usual stereotype where we are used to seeing the serial killer behind bars or killed by the end of the movie. Here, Cooper is still at large, and as we have already discussed, quite possibly preparing for his next victims. Josh Hartnett is one of the shining stars in the movie, and his portrayal of a psychopathic serial killer is brilliantly frightening. Coming to the downsides, there are plenty, and the movie has come under some heavy criticism as well. There are inconsistencies in the plot that simply cannot be ignored, and it is unlikely for someone as distinguished as Shyamalan to go ahead without resolving the same. Some have even alleged that the movie is simply his attempt to help his daughter find her feet in the industry, and her role as Lady Raven might not be the start that she aspired for. All in all, the movie could have been a lot better, but it's still worth watching for the sheer entertainment and tense ambience that keeps you on the edge of your seat. We would love to hear from you in the comments below about your thoughts on the movie and on the performance of Josh Hartnett. Also, tell us about the flaws in the narrative and execution that, you didn't appreciate. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.